what's going on, everyone? Welcome in to a brand new episode of Snaps. What's up? Nick Watson, Greg, Danny, everybody else hanging out live in the Snaps YouTube chat, youtube.com/@volumesnaps. Thank you, as always. We love you. Like, subscribe, share the video with your friends and your enemies today. Because everybody, like, if you hate someone, make them listen to my awful jokes and horrible football takes, and make them listen to Aaron consistently try to sell you Georgia propaganda. I'm T-Bob Hebert. He is Aaron Murray. Aaron, what's up, dog?
Just excited for a big weekend of college football. It's only Wednesday, but just getting marinated, ready to break these games down.
Danny Bonilla, now I have a reason not to do my homework. Smart man indeed. All right. Check it out, boys. It is Wednesday, which means it is time to preview the weekend. And we got pretty good weekend, in my opinion, coming up here. I always love a schedule, too, that has bangers at every time. And you don't get that without a big 11 a.m. match. Well, I'm sorry, I'm doing Central Time, noon for a lot of people, right? But we got that this weekend with Michigan-Penn State, which we'll talk about. We got Ole Miss, UGA right after that, Utah, Washington as well, Tennessee, Mizzou, and Florida, LSU, also USC, Oregon. So a lot of games to break down today. And also remember, be on the lookout for our gambling show with Colin Wilson. He's been having really good picks. Cale McCullum, get off my guy Murray for ripping them dogs. I mean, look, one of us has to be an objective member of this show. And so if I have to bear the title of the smart one, I suppose, and the unbiased one and the honest one, I suppose that is a cross that I am
just here for the looks over here. That's it. That's what I'm here for.
I mean, look, that's not why you're not here. You know what I'm saying? Yes, exactly.
Part of the game.
Role. I am not in Jezebel's 50 hottest Atlanteans. Although I wish, God, I should have told you to have that pick ready, PG. We can get to it later in the week. Major Kenny Power vibe coming out of Aaron there. We'll get there. All right, let's dive in, though. Here we go. Michigan at Penn State. Happy Valley. Let's go, dude. Finally, Aaron. It feels like, everything for Michigan just feels like foreplay set up to this point, right? Window dressing, like getting the table set, putting up all the decorations. Like, it's been freaking 3 months of we think they're really good, but they haven't played anyone. And finally now there's so much built up potential kinetic energy, and it's finally about to explode this weekend.
It is funny. I mean, you go through 9 games this season before you finally meet someone who's actually on your same playing field when it comes to talent. And you've had an extended, essentially extended preseason for the Michigan Wolverines. And they've treated it like that, especially on offense. It has been very vanilla with the run game, with the pass game. There's not been any tempo at all, which is not something they've ever done really anyways. But it's felt like, let's get in, get out. There's not a lot of plays to the game. They're efficient. They win, they move on. They win, they move on. And it's been almost robotic at times. But I think the big thing is the question that's going to be looming on everyone's mind is, how good is this team now that they can't cheat? What's that sideline going to look like? I mean, I'm going to be watching the sideline. I hope they're panning to the sideline on in between snaps of, are there
they're going pointing? To like, I don't think you have to hope. Like, you know better than I do.
You think they're going to be a little bit more cautious, or they're going to like, screw it, like, people know we cheat, so let's just keep it going if we know the signals?
Well, no, I mean, this is weird, right? Like, they're still going to try to steal signals because everybody does, which again is why this is going to be so weird to adjudicate for the Big Ten. And now you're seeing other reports that other schools have been sending people to games to steal signals. So, like, again, I don't know where the punishment ends up, but whatever. But yeah, I mean, they're absolutely going to still be trying to steal the signals live. Like, you'd be doing a disservice if you didn't.
Will it not be as smooth of an operation now that they don't know? Is it a runner pass for Penn State's offense? Are they blitzing? Are they playing man? Are they playing zone coverage defensively? Like, if you don't have that pre-snap indicator as well as you have previously, is it going to be as smooth? I don't think you could take this game as that game, because this is such a significant increase in competition compared to previous weeks. Like, if Michigan goes out there and only wins by a touchdown, it's not because they weren't cheating properly. It was because they finally faced a team that is a lot better competition than what they faced for the first 9 games.
So I believe logically you are correct. but you are asking people to be very, like, if that ends up happening, you're asking people to be very calm and logical about a situation in which the correlation has been one of the oddest things about this, right? That
Yeah.
right when you start this scheme is when you absolutely take off, like going from a 500 team basically to like a 900 team. TCU saying, "Oh, we knew we knew they knew our signals, and so we double gamed them," a la the very famous Mike Leach story where he dropped the fake play sheet before OU Texas back in the day, which is one of my favorite stories of all time. Look it up if you haven't seen it. And so, no, like correlation to success and failure and whether or not Michigan's cheating correctly has been one of the most interesting parts of the story. So, even if you're right, Aaron, if it's a close, God forbid Michigan loses, because when you finally can't cheat.
Yeah. No, I think it'll come out more if they lose. If Michigan loses, like that's going to be the first thing I'm sure we'll talk about on our 3:30 show. So we're planning to do a show after the game. That'll be the first thing we talk about. Like
it'll be a Penn State Michigan post-game show along with whatever else.
Which is unfair for Penn State because like if Penn State wins, it's going to be because Michigan couldn't cheat. It had nothing to do with Penn State. Like
that is
just
unfair.
It's a little unfair for the Nittany Lions heading into this game, but whatever. At the end of the day, if they win,
hold on, though. Stay on that for a moment. Yeah, they don't care, right? No,
they don't care.
James Franklin's not going to be upset.
Yeah, they don't care.
But at the same time, therein lies, and again, I'm not trying to be like morally superior or holier than thou, whatever. Everything has cheating, right?
Mm-hmm.
And again, I don't know, whatever. Maybe they took it to itself, but like therein lies the core problem with cheating. Because it has ripple effects where all of a sudden you start to distrust all the elements at play. And then even like one of the ripple effects there would be Penn State not getting the credit for a great win because we're all just saying, oh, it's because you no longer have Connor Stallion. So it's like that's why it sucks because you tear down the integrity of the entire game and then everything just feels less than. Yeah. It's like if you play like World of Warcraft or whatever. Sorry, if you play any video game in which it's pay to win. Like where if I worked my ass off, like why would I? If this other guy can just go pay for it to get it. So yeah, whatever.
Let's get to the breakdown of the game. I'll start first with I'll go with the easier discussion. Penn State's offense versus Michigan's defense. This is the biggest struggle of the football game because I don't think Penn State's going to be able to score points. I don't. You look at Drew Aller this entire season against better competition, against pressure. He's a young quarterback. Like I don't want to just write him off as like Drew Aller is this bust, and all these Penn State fans have been waiting for their 5-star savior to take their offense to another level. And I've told people on this channel for the entire season, it's not all on him. They don't have playmakers on the outside.
No,
it's very one-dimensional offense. That if those two running backs aren't getting it done, the offense won't succeed.
Which we saw against Ohio State.
Yeah, they don't have one-on-one game breakers. So yeah, you can go to the youth of the quarterback. I go to as an entire passing offense. It's not good enough. We saw it versus Ohio State, and I think Ohio State's defense is legit. I know Michigan is legit. They bring back the majority of that team from last year. That team is big and physical. They look like Georgia did for the past few years at D-line, the front seven. They're long and lanky, can run on the back end. Penn State may not get to double digits in this game. I worry about that. And then it just flips over to the other side. Is Michigan good enough throwing the football? Like that, to me, that's the question that we asked, or at least I asked heading into the season. If Michigan was going to win a championship, at some point you had to show me, could you throw the football to win? Penn State's really good up front. They're really good against the run. Can J.J. McCarthy, who I believe has taken massive strides this season so far, could he now do it on the road against a good defense? If he does do that, I think every question that anyone would have about Michigan would be silenced at that point because now it's like, holy shit, they can beat you throwing the football.
Well, and look, guys, I see a lot of the error stuff going on in the chat right now. It's fine on our end, so it might be a StreamYard issue. The recording should be fine for later, but hopefully it seems like it's fixing for a lot of people as well. So we'll just keep doing the show. But no, Aaron, it's a very good point about Michigan being able to throw the ball. And quite frankly, like J.J. McCarthy's done all the foundational work to make us believe that he can. He just has to now go prove it. Like if you look at J.J. McCarthy, he's the highest rated quarterback in the Big Ten right now. He's got a quarterback rating of 188, 18 touchdowns to 3 picks, 2,100 yards, 10 yards per attempt. So pushing the ball downfield, 75% completion. It's not the most, it's 237 yards a game. So it's not the highest volume, but it is.
But they're not going at breakneck speed either, though. Like you watch the offense.
That's true. Well, that's true. And he's not playing 4 quarters. Excuse me. He's not playing 4 quarters. That's 3 quarters a game, basically.
And they don't have a lot of plays per game either. Like they're not getting to 70, 80, 90 plays. It's a lot. It's like you watch a Michigan game and I go watch like on my iPad and I'll fly through it. It's like, high 50s, low 60s. You get through
deadly efficient. Very efficient.
From
JJ McCarthy this year. Massive growth from last year because in these same, and that's something to point out, even though they haven't played anybody in these same games last year, he wasn't great all the time.
Yeah.
Right. It almost cost him against Illinois when you were like, I mean, they just don't trust him. They won't let him throw the ball.
Yeah.
So for JJ McCarthy, you did all the big work. And this is where it gets funny for Penn State. Penn State to me continues to feel like a upper mid-level wrestler that they kind of build up and use to put the other teams over, right? Like Penn State is the win that Ohio State is currently standing on to rise to the top of the CFP. And now Penn State will likely be the sacrificial lamb that puts Michigan over. We're like, I told you Michigan was really good all year because Penn State's just too flawed offensively. And how weird is it for Drew Aller? Because you're a freshman, and through no fault of your own, you had undue, sophomore, I guess, technically, right? But first year starter. But through no fault of your own, you've had a lot of undue expectation put on you. Because the last guy wasn't maybe the most explosive in a conservative system, which we have to point out. You were the one that was gonna break all this wide open. Well, the problem is, twofold. You don't have the weapons. And James Franklin, I don't think, wants to break things wide open. I think James Franklin likes playing old school, conservative, let's put our thumb on the scale for just trying to win the game football. And Aller's stats are such a weird mixed bag. I mean, if I just showed you 20 touchdowns to 1 pick, you're like, what the fuck? But then you get to 6.6 yards per attempt.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we are talking...
There's three
checkdowns.
There's 3 tiers in the Big Ten. It's Ohio State, Michigan, tier 1. Penn State owns tier 2. Then everyone else is in the 3rd tier. So Penn State destroys in the tier 3. They're kind of in their own space, just kind of in limbo right now, not able to kind of fall down to tier 3 because they're too good, but they're able not to climb up to tier 1 because it's Michigan and Ohio State, 2 of the best teams that college football has seen for the past 3 years. It's unfortunate. You are who you are. I just don't see a way. Well, this is what, if Penn State's going to win, they're going to need defense. You go back to the game versus Ohio State. You had the fumble return for a touchdown that was called back because of holding on Marvin Harrison Jr. You need plays like that. I think defense is going to be your best offense. Can you get a couple turnovers? Can JJ, who last year had some turnover issues, you brought it up, T, can maybe 3 interceptions versus Bowling Green? Can you get 2 picks? Can you get some short fields? Can you get a strip sack fumble? Stuff like that. Your defense has to be offense.
Okay, so that's kind of interesting. Thinking about, you're absolutely right. The Penn State, and look, Dart Cheney says the Penn State offense is poo, but the defense is salty. They're very good, and they're fast, and they hit hard, and they looked great against Ohio State, everybody. But we said it. It was so abundantly clear that Marvin Harrison Jr. was the difference in that game. Does Michigan have a guy like that?
But the difference is, and I love people have been saying that all week. It's been the thing Michigan doesn't have Marvin Harrison Jr. That was the difference in that game. The difference is Michigan's better everywhere else. What does Ohio State not have? Ohio State does not have an offensive line. What is also Ohio State? They don't have a quarterback.
True.
So it's you have the elite receiver, but you have nothing else. Michigan has, as of right now, I believe, a Heisman caliber quarterback. They have Heisman caliber running back. They have probably the Joe Moorhead winning offensive line once again this year. That offensive line, I talked to Cole the other day, may be better than the previous 2 years. So while you may not have the star receiver on the outside, you are better than everywhere else than Ohio State is. So you lean on that identity a little bit more.
Justin Melton said, y'all forgot first half Rutgers. Yeah, first half Rutgers probably goes in the Penn State tier. And then what was it gonna, wait, here it is. Ox in the shop. Do y'all think Penn State can win?
No.
I don't think so. Unfortunately,
no.
I think Penn State just remains too flawed, Michigan too complete. And I think, I mean, if you look at, again, it kind of goes back to last year where that Penn State Ohio State game was much closer than Michigan Penn State. I think we see the same thing. It's like Aaron's talking about sometimes how he used to talk about Michigan or like Kentucky versus Georgia, right? Bigger gap, but stay with me here. Kentucky wants to play the same style as Georgia does, only Georgia is the pinnacle of that style. I feel the same about Penn State and Michigan. Penn State wants to play the same style, only Michigan is a much more evolved and a much higher version of that style. And I think that becomes an awful matchup for Penn State, even being at home. I think Michigan wins.
Yeah.
And I have saying late kick Josh took Penn State. I know he goes by that model that they've created on that show, and that's all well and good.
Yeah. His model, I believe, had Michigan. I think that's just him and, in his balls saying that he wants, Penn State.
Okay. So that gets interesting as well, because this is something that to me, I think this is a little meta sports talk play here, where every now and then you see a piece of land that nobody's setting up camp in, right? Think about like the gold rush. Everybody's trying to get that gold out of them takes, right? That virality. And every now and then you see a piece of land that everybody's saying, no, that's barren. It's not, there is nothing underneath those rocks. Trust me. So you go and you stake it off and you're like, I'm going to dig this land. And 99% of the time it doesn't hit, but it doesn't fucking matter because nobody cares, because they told you that land wasn't going to produce. But every now and then you get the upset, you get the gold, and then you highlight it and you say, look at what I told you. All of you doubted me, and I found gold in these darn hills, and I fucking told you Penn State was going to win, and there you go. So I feel like that's a little bit of Josh's play there, in my opinion. Yeah. Maybe he really believes in his balls. I don't see it.
I don't see
it on film, right?
Like, name one position that Penn State's better than Michigan.
No, bro, I agree.
Position. Maybe linebacker, but like not D-line, not O-line, not quarterback, not running back, not receiver, not DBs. There's not one position group, and then head coach. Not one position group or coach that Penn State, I feel like is better heading into this football game.
Dude, that's crazy. That is crazy. Blake Corum has 16 rushing touchdowns. What the fuck, dude? And that's, again, playing in like 3 quarters a game. Who leads the country in rushing touchdowns? Oh, Blake Corum. Okay, there you go. All right. So Michigan. We both think Michigan. Chalk, but it is what it is, man. Yep. Next up on the list, Ole Miss at UGA. And what's funny about this is we talked about it plenty. Yes, Aaron? What are you pointing at there? You kind of cut off the screen. I can't see. You just
you can't see.
Looks like you're tickling the tip of a football as if it was a clitori.
Oh, there's a G on the football. There's a G.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay, I see. Yeah. So you were pointing to the G spot on the football. Yes. I see. Okay.
The G spot on the football.
We could not see
as I was massaging it.
Probably the only time that you've correctly done that in your life as well. So congratulations. It would be deeply funny to me if Ole Miss made the playoff without ever having made it to Atlanta and winning the West. They've never won the West. They've never made it to Atlanta. And yet, because of this Georgia game, they would actually be in a damn good spot to be the beneficiary of chaos and sneak into the playoff if they go into Athens and win.
What happened in this scenario? Let's just show real quick, and then we'll move on to the breakdown of the game. Ole Miss wins. Georgia still gets to Atlanta, beats Alabama, is 12-1 SEC champs, and Ole Miss is sitting there at 11-1. And they beat Georgia in Athens. Who goes in?
That's a bit like the Texas Alabama conundrum that we broke down on the reaction show last night.
That's an interesting one. That's an interesting one, but we'll see. But
to be clear, I don't think it's gonna happen. I go back to the Alabama game. What happened in that game? Unfortunately for Ole Miss, while they got a lot of good, and it's enough to put them over 85% of college football, maybe even 90%, they're just not good enough up front on either side of the ball to hang with Georgia, and that's going to be the thing that kills them.
Well, and I was worried about, and I talked to someone about this the other day, of Lane Kiffin in these moments. Like, you look at Lane Kiffin last year versus Alabama, and he just gets so emotional. they get your popcorn ready kind of in the pregame, and was kind of like fumbling over his words. This year made some huge mental errors in the game in the loss to Alabama. And I think it's just more of an Alabama thing for him. Like, I think he wants to beat Alabama so bad that he lets the emotion of the game get to him a little bit. So I don't think Lane's going to be, once again, as emotional trying to coach out of his shoes in Athens this weekend. So I think you will get the best version of Lane Kiffin, which is pretty damn good. The offense is going to have to be perfect.
But like, how much can you coach your way to success when Georgia's front seven, I believe, not being the best run stuffers. I know that, but still, I'm not like terribly high on Ole Miss's offensive line. I saw
they looked pretty good last week though versus A&M. I thought like that was the best I've seen that unit play, and that's a good A&M defense.
Yeah, it's a very really good front seven. Okay, that's fair. But I also saw an Ole Miss defense get just beat up.
I'm going to focus on the off. Like, okay, once again, like this is identical to this could play very similar to last week's LSU Alabama game, more in the sense of like Georgia is Alabama. They're the more complete team. LSU had to be perfect on offense. They had to score almost every possession in order to keep pace. Ole Miss is going to have to score on almost every possession to keep pace with Georgia. Like, they're going to have to score in the mid to high 30s to make this a football game. And I are they capable of doing it? I think so. Like, Jackson Dart's playing at a high level. He's athletic as hell. He can run the football. Judkins is playing extremely well right now. He's healthy. Ulysses Bentley looks great. Trey on the outside is a freaking stud receiver that Georgia may have some struggles with too. So, like, are they capable of having long touchdown drives against this defense? Yeah, I think it's been shown this year that this isn't the same Georgia defense as previous years, but can you do it for 4 quarters, where I have more confidence in Georgia's offense doing it for 4 quarters against Ole Miss's defense?
I agree with that. And chat's talking about this right now. Any concern about Dumas Johnson not being available?
Yes. Big concern. Not playing.
So you think that maybe cracks open the door for Ole Miss to find that offensive perfection?
I think it's a high-scoring game. I do. Okay. I think this is a game. I think both teams can touch in the 30s. I think Georgia wins. I don't think they cover. I think that 10.5 is a little bit too much. I think Ole Miss has been improved defensively, not to the extent where I think it's going to be like ball busting. They keep Georgia into the 20s, but I think their offense is good enough where this could be a 4-quarter shootout.
Charlie Shepard says Kiffin did send a tweet before UGA won the second natty saying he couldn't wait to play back-to-back national champs next season. Okay, well, it's here. And Lane Kiffin's probably in an infinitely better spot than he ever would have thought coming into this game with Ole Miss being ranked in the top 10 with 1 loss.
A-Bar said that Ole Miss only scored 10 points against a weaker Alabama defense.
Alabama's defense is better than Georgia.
Yeah, I would disagree. I think Alabama's defense is better than Georgia's defense this year. And that was early on the season too, where offensive line wasn't playing as well. Judkins was banged up first part of the season. Like, he was not the same running back. Go look at his stats from the first 5 games of the season to what he's doing now. Massive improvements. I think Ulysses Bentley playing a bigger role has helped. They've kind of split the reps a little bit more. The receivers are now healthy. They didn't have a lot of the receivers to start the season. You can't take Ole Miss beginning the season to what they are now. It is not night and day, but they've had some pretty big strides.
They've grown. They've grown. For sure.
They've grown. The one area that is concerning, I said this last week about Kansas State, at home, Ole Miss is getting 536 yards per game. On the road, only 363 yards per game.
Well, I mean, look, that's what Caleb McCollum points out. They're averaging, Ole Miss scores 43 in Oxford, 25 away. I mean, this is the last thing I'll say on the game. That feels like the difference. Nighttime in Athens, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
It's going to be brutal. Also, to me, I'm a firm believer that all roads are leading to Bama, Georgia, and Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
And so even though you're right about teams growing, be prepared to be directly compared to, did you beat them as badly as Alabama did? And if you beat them worse, then you'll get a lot of credit. If you don't, then we're going to be like, oh my God, watch out now, Alabama, here they come. Just be prepared for it. That's all I'm saying. Anything else, Aaron? I think we both think Georgia wins here.
Georgia wins.
It would be a fucking masterclass for Lane if he could somehow pull this off.
I agree. I don't think it happens. Georgia wins. I think the big difference, you said it, 7 o'clock, night game in Athens, fans will show up. Your boy's going to be there. I'll be getting rowdy in the box.
Yes. Oh, guys, Aaron's going to be there in the suite, like some sort of Roman senator, far above you rabble and the bourgeoisie sitting in your regular seats. There he is. Yes, dude. Oh, Pete, if you're listening to a podcast on YouTube right now, Pat has put up an excellent picture of Aaron and Sharon Murray, who were featured in Jezebel Magazine's 50 Hottest Atlantans. And Aaron went with the fucking straight all black for the shoot. The Kenny Powers vibes are unreal, dude. Hit the like button if you like Aaron Powers there. Did you choose that suit? Who chose the suit?
I think they did. I had something else that was a little bit more floral, I believe.
Go back to that picture, PG.
And it was they won the dark.
Go back to that picture. I mean, I don't know, dude. Okay, first off, major power couple vibes, of which y'all are, but also y'all look very intimidating sexually. Like you look like you go to parties with other millionaires and do like the most hedonistic things that you can possibly imagine. I would be so intimidated as y'all invited me to drink. Yes, that's what I'm looking for, PG. Thank you. Eyes wide shut. Like I'm getting huge eyes wide shut out of the two of y'all in this energy. Or kind of on the other side of it, like I think we were joking about yesterday, like maybe like a mega televangelist as well, but more eyes wide shut. I mean, damn, dude.
We run the swingers organization here in Buckhead in Atlanta.
But again, not a dirty swingers one. You know, like a high class, like you know, only the realist get in here.
Yes.
Wow, that's crazy. That picture's like, how come I didn't get put in 50 hottest Baton Rougians? What the fuck? I don't think they do that. All right, next on the list, send me the deets, Dobby, bro. If you're asking for the invite, it ain't happening. I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you, dog. Like it just shows up. Okay. Number 18, Washington number 18, Utah traveling to take on number 5, Washington. Interesting conversation to be had about this game. First off, there is the conversation starting to bubble, and I kind of agree. Is Oregon getting too much credit for being in a very flawed and very injured Utah team? You've called it your favorite win ever, Aaron Murray. So, I mean, I don't know if you agree.
Oh, yeah.
You did. I mean, you did say it's the best win of the season at the time, and I get
it. At the time, it was pretty
because
damn good.
They dominated.
Yes.
It's an upside down pineapple, Dobby. Upside down pineapples mean swingers, but whatever. Regardless of how you feel on whether or not Oregon's getting too much credit, this is a perfect opportunity for Washington to once again reinforce their own resume, fight against this ridiculous notion that they are the worst team than Oregon, although they've beaten Oregon 2 times in a row, and just continue to show the playoff committee they're fucking absurd for not having Washington in the top 4 already.
I don't think their defense is as bad as what we've seen the past 2 weeks. I'll be honest. Like it is, versus Stanford and versus USC. It's at times looked like a USC defense and LSU defense. I don't think they're that bad. I do think this is a bounce back moment for them. Like we talk about, like what are certain teams you want to play if you want to feel good about yourself? Well, if you want to feel better about yourself defensively, you play Utah this year. And I think this is a game where it's at home. You're 9-0. It's a top 20 matchup. You're number 5 in the country. It's going to be like, we saw how tough it was for Oregon to play there.
Yeah.
Utah, who is struggling on offense, like maybe they score, high teens, low 20s. This is an offense for Washington with those skill guys and Penix, not pick a number, but they'll be able to put some points up against Utah. I don't think this is a football game. Utah is just, you said it best. It's a flawed team this year. It's unfortunate. But you look at what they're bringing back next year with their quarterback. Like, I think for Utah fans, you kind of say, like, you know what, this just ain't our year. The back-to-back Pac-12 champion, kind of not going to go for a three-peat. Washington's just going to be too good, too fast, too skilled.
Yeah, I think this is a bit of an NPC game to me, where unfortunately for Utah, like winning doesn't vault them into the top 2. Because they've already got Pac-12, 2 Pac-12 losses. So, like, I kind of don't give a shit about Utah. Like, I only care about how Washington looks in relation to Utah. And Michael Penix Jr., Aaron, he is not he was great against Stanford, but the game's booking in it was not Michael Penix Jr. norm. I mean, 27 of 42, 275, no touchdowns, 2 picks against Arizona State, worst game of the season. And then against USC, now granted, he didn't have to throw it.
Didn't have
because, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But, 250
it was a good
yards,
game for USC.
Pick.
He had a bad interception in the red zone. He tried to force one, ball gets tipped in the air. But when you rush the ball for what they end up rushing for, Dalen Johnson had 250 yards himself or 300 yards total. Like, it was a good game for him. So
whatever. The point is, if you could put up numbers against this Utah defense, then that's all very impressive. And you take in a ton of confidence going into this final thing. I mean, Utah's the number one total defense in the Pac-12, number one against the rush, number one against the pass. So again, it's an NPC game. All I care about is watching Washington. Even though if you're going to watch someone on Utah, Jonah Ellis is the name. 12 sacks in 9 games. First in the Pac-12, second in the country, leads the Pac-12 in TFLs. If Utah's going to somehow pull off the upset, beat Penix, he'll be key. I think Washington wins. Let's hear from our friends at DraftKings. NBA fans, the wait is over. Basketball is back, and DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA, is celebrating with an unbeatable offer. Right now, new customers can score $200 instantly in bonus bets for throwing down $5 on the NBA. Win or lose, it doesn't matter. You start the season with an instant dub. And always remember, the DraftKings parlays, everyone's got a shot at even bigger basketball wins. So string together multiple bets in the same game or build a parlay across multiple games for a shot at making your payday even sweeter. Bottom line is basketball is more fun when you're in on the action. So download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code TBOB, TBOB. New customers get $200 in bonus bets instantly for betting just $5. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code TBOB, TBOB. The crown is yours. Yo, welcome back. All right, we got to run through these last 3 just so the time. We've got a long Tennessee, Mizzou.
I think it's a good football game.
It's a great one.
I think it's a really good football game. I do not
know how to score it. Ultimately, I think these are both pretty complete football teams.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're both good on both lines of scrimmage. You saw Mizzou last week against UGA. You saw them against LSU. Really, Tennessee's been carried all year by the trenches on both sides of the ball, running the ball, stopping the run, getting after the quarterback. Ultimately, I think Nkomo does some heavy lifting.
Yep.
And I think the disparity between Cook and Milton does some heavy lifting. And so
Milton's been better lately.
He's been better. He's been better. But Cook's still been really damn good.
But Cook started off hot. He's kind of cooled off a little bit. Like, if you want to talk about trending, Milton was trending down, and you talk about candlesticks. He's kind of like little green candlestick the past couple of weeks. We're Cook was
Milton
green.
Started turning over the ball a couple of times, and against LSU it cost him, and against Georgia it cost him.
Yeah, and Cook is kind of a small little red candle there that the stock's starting to dip a little bit. I think this is a game of excited to see or eager to see on Friday, Saturday who's healthy. Tennessee's banged up on the offensive line. That's something that cost them versus Florida. And Luther Burden is banged up too. Is he going to go? So I think those are two things that you want to look at come game time. Luther Burden go. I feel good about Missouri.
I didn't know that Burden
I'm a little bit concerned. Yeah, he got banged up versus Georgia. If Tennessee's offensive line, those starters aren't playing, I think that's going to be a concern on the road against a pretty frisky front seven for the Missouri Tigers. So if everyone was healthy, I'll play with that scenario. If everyone's healthy, I lean towards Missouri. I do think they're the little bit more complete football team. They can run it. They can pass it. They can play good defense. They're at home. You look at Tennessee, Joe has performed better, and he's running the ball more effectively. I think that's engaging him in the game more. But I still think that there is a flaw in this offense when it comes to throwing the football consistently for Tennessee, where that's going to be the difference for me, because Missouri showed me a lot last week. And I know it's two very different offenses, and you can't load the box versus Tennessee like you could versus Georgia because of the spacing. But if they play with that physicality in which they did against a really good offense line in Georgia, they can slow down that Tennessee offense.
Yeah, I agree. The Vols do have the better pass rush, Sandy Cooper points out. So that makes me, RC Bateman says this is his favorite college football show. Hell yeah. He also says Mizzou 24-21. That feels very realistic.
Yeah.
24-21. I could definitely see that at home. I mean, honestly, I can give y'all a pick and I'll say Mizzou, but this is a coin flip. This is going to be a very fun game, and it'll determine who's second best in the East, which is cool for both sides.
Yep.
That'd be huge for both sides. Florida at LSU. Aaron, I just have one thing to mention here. I wanted to do because Jaden Daniels, Brian Kelly did say he expects Jaden Daniels to that he's been running. He's been advanced to the concussion protocol, that he expects him to practice today even. So I think there's a good chance Jaden Daniels may play, which is huge, because I did a little fact-finding mission where I looked at, okay, who has Florida played that has defenses that rank similarly to LSU? And we'll look at stop rate, which we always do. Arkansas 63rd in stop rate in the entire country. Florida put up 36. South Carolina is 122 in the country. Florida put up 41. Vanderbilt is 126. Florida put up 38. Well, LSU is 110th. Okay. So LSU is right there. In fact, Arkansas is significantly better. And yet the average of those three other games, 38 points. So Florida's going to score. Yeah. Like Ricky Pearsall is going to pop off at times. Graham Mertz will probably have a really nice stat line by the end of the game.
He's got a great stat line right now.
I do think
stat line.
Well, it is odd though. The 8 yard, he's a little, yes, he does. But yeah.
Like I went back and watched the game last week versus Arkansas. I still don't know how the hell Arkansas won that football game. It was wild that somehow they found a way in 2 drives in the fourth quarter to win it. Then Graham Mertz drives them down. Then they miss a field goal. Florida, it's unbelievable how that team finds ways to lose.
So with Jaden playing, I'll give the nod to LSU. But like I said in my morning show, anybody watching this game needs to accept that Florida's going to put up points. And you're going to have to outscore.
The game at
6. So nighttime in Death Valley, gotta love that.
6:30 game, nighttime Death Valley, huge advantage. Like we just talked about with Missouri.
Yep,
LSU wins, but yeah, Florida can score points, man. Graham Mertz is played really well this year. Eugene Wilson's been kicking ass. Ricky Pearsall's kicking ass.
Yeah,
and this defensive line for LSU, like we talk about, Florida's running backs with Etienne and Johnson. Like they haven't been able to get going because of the offensive line. This is a game where like you actually may be able to run the football because LSU can't stop the run. So if you get that part of Florida's offense going, you throw that dynamic into it, it could be an interesting football game there in Baton Rouge. But LSU would be too much for it. It's a young Florida secondary. It's a smaller, front seven, at least with the linebackers. I think they're banged up at linebacker too. I think LSU.
Florida's defense should get fucking torched. Like, make no mistake. If Jaden plays,
this could be like
should get immolated.
This could be like a 55-40 game.
Yeah. Noah, this is a good point. Noah Lejeune, T-Bob, we've been watching all season. Everyone scores against LSU. Okay, chill the fuck out, Noah. But that's true. I just think that maybe this is just me projecting. I still don't feel like Florida's offense is terribly good though. Like they're 9th in the SEC in points per game. But again, when they've played similar defenses, they have done very well. Yeah. And so that's I probably am projecting there, but there you go. And then finally, USC Oregon. So Washington gets to play Utah, and we'll play a little comp game there. And now a week after Washington takes care of business against USC, Oregon gets them at home. Okay, so what can they do? Can they go beat this USC team in similar fashion?
Was Alex Grinch the piece that needed to go, and all of a sudden USC's defense is just going to be just, do you believe in that?
I cannot fathom that he was so actively bad that USC's defense is somehow going to be good now.
Hey, ask Arkansas about Dan Enos and what that offense, the improvements they saw from before the firing to the last week's win versus Florida.
Yeah,
but
okay.
No, I know there's a lot of talk last night on a lot of these shows about, Oregon doesn't, they're just, touting that win.
Well, you can't dismiss that talk. That talk is not wrong.
No, it's not wrong. But I think a lot of people are now saying like, oh, Oregon's not that good because Utah's not that good. And they lost to Washington. And other than that, they haven't been a team, I think, with a running record. Like, I get that. Like,
true.
You can look at all the stats you want, or you can just watch the actual damn tape and know it's a good football team on both sides. So you choose how you want to view the Oregon football team. I think they're damn good. I think they're really balanced. And I think they win the damn football game, plain and simple. And it's in Eugene. So
yeah, Dobby says this is where we get to see if Oregon's defense is actually good. They have one win against a winning team. Yeah, this will be great for the Oregon defense to prove themselves. Like if they go and they really have a lot of success and shut USC down, well, okay, then maybe the whole idea that they're actually better than Washington gains some steam
I don't
because
know.
of
You
Penn
saw them slow down Washington's. They slowed down Washington's offense the entire second half of the football game. So they
36
proved to me they could slow down.
36 points. 36 points. That's how many Washington scored. I don't know what to tell you. Like, what do you mean?
Second half, they scored what, 1 touchdown before the last drive?
Well, it's a good thing they play 60 minutes then, Aaron Murray,
Yeah.
isn't it? I mean,
know.
what the
Just
fuck?
saying.
What do we do? I'm going to focus on. Well, I mean, look, LSU's defense may be good. They did come up with that stop the second drive of the Alabama game, or excuse me, first drive.
You just said that like they have to prove to us they could stop Washington's offense. They showed me for 2 quarters that they could match up with Washington's offense.
Well, can they do it for 4?
I don't know, but at least they can do it for half.
Royal Payne says Oklahoma State at UCF is a sneaky spot for the Cowboys. I'm on trap game of the week. Look, anything is a sneaky spot for an Oklahoma State team that lost to South Alabama as badly as it did. Like they become a very good team, but chaotic energy teams like that, those are the ones you have to worry about after a big win like this, because they're chaotic. They're volatile.
I will tell you this: Oklahoma State secondary still is very suspect to me, and UCF wants to throw the football, spread you out, go up tempo. So we'll see. I agree. That's an interesting one.
All right, that'll do it. That's a little weekend preview for your boys here on staff. So we think Oregon's going to win. Did we take any upsets here? I'm taking Mizzou and Florida LSU. I will take LSU at home. No. Sorry. I'm not saying it like that. I just noticed that we didn't really pick those games.
Mizzou is an underdog. Tennessee's a 1-point favorite.
Okay, I'm taking Mizzou and LSU.
Wait, LSU's a dog?
No. Again, I'm not. I set that up all very odd. I wasn't actually answering. I just meant that we didn't make picks on those games. I'm just saying my picks. But I feel like we did go pretty chalky. We just took all the favorites basically.
Yeah.
But
it's a weekend too. It's weird. Like all the favorites are also at home. Like.
Yeah, exactly.
Besides Michigan-Penn State, but
all right, that'll do it for today's show. Please, thank y'all so much for hanging out with us, man. Please like, subscribe. The road to 8K continues. The Snaps Boys goals is 10 by the Natty. Okay, so any way you can help us, hell yeah. We'll have our gambling show out tomorrow. We'll be reacting live right after Penn State, Michigan on Saturday. Sunday morning recap show. Back live Monday. Well, and those other shows are live as well. So, thank you. Come hang out with us. Tell your friends. College football. We love it. We love you. And we'll see you on the next episode of Snaps.